Okay, hello everybody. Welcome. This is the Q1 2021 call for Bisq. As usual, we're going to go through each of the major functions, and each function lead or team lead will go through the achievements and deliverables that took place in the past quarter, as well as things they're working on now and expecting to deliver in the future. This is the Q1 2021. One moment here. Okay. Right, so this is the overall high-level agenda. We'll go through each of the functions: development, ops, growth, and support, and cover these items. Before we jump into that, I want to just highlight the moment. We're just past 5 years live on Mainnet for the whole Bisq network. 2 years since the Bisq DAO went live on Mainnet, 2019 April, so it was actually April 15th, so just about 1 week ago, 2 years ago, and we are very, very close to 100,000 trades on the entire network. I think we're at about 99,600 or 700 something, so very, very close. If mining fees didn't spike recently, we'd probably already be past that, but trading volume has been somewhat depressed over the past few days because of that, which, yeah, leads me to the next point, that mining fees are among the highest ever right now. So it's likewise more important than ever that Bisq figure out how to navigate that kind of environment. And so to that end, a contributor by the name of Chimp posted a discussion, I think it was 1 day ago, yesterday, covering some of the research he's done on tools and ideas and research on how to do that. So if you're interested in talking about or researching or providing your feedback and input on the future of Bisq and truly decentralized exchange, I recommend checking out that link. I'm sure we'll be talking about it more in this presentation, but that link is there for you here. And yeah, I guess with that, we can get started with development. ripcurlx.
Just a sec, yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, perfect, fine. Okay, yeah, can you switch to the next slide, please?
Sure. I switched. I think there's a bit of a delay, but
okay, yeah, I'm just watching it on YouTube in parallel. Okay, yeah, it was a very busy Q1 in 21 as well for us. I looked at the current contributions and the contributors. We had nearly the same amount, so we had 13 contributors participating in 8 releases. So that's a new record regarding the releases. They were not just regular releases. We had one or another hot fix as well. But yeah, we did ship quite regularly, which is good. Yeah, I want to pick out a couple of features which we delivered over the last 4 months. Yeah, let's get into it. One feature that was added, I think 2 or 3 releases ago, was can you switch to the next slide? Was the possibility to create limited offers, so offers where you define if the price goes over or under a certain price, that they will be deactivated. So it's not that you have the possibility now to put a offer live overnight, go to bed and not coming back on the next day, seeing that your offer was taken at a price that is beyond what you wanted to actually trade. So it sounds in the beginning like a small feature, but actually it's something that I personally use quite a lot. So I do like that. Yeah, then one feature I already highlighted on the last quarterly update from last year, that we are working on it, and in this quarter we finally shipped it. Big thanks to Stan, who did nearly all of the implementation parts. Can you switch to the next slide?
Yep.
Just in case, yeah. So I'm talking about the API. So we, with 1.60, we did our official beta release of the API. So if you do want to use the API, you still have to build from master. So we haven't integrated a separate daemon or some command line arguments where you can just take the binary and start it up with API enabled and try it out. That the reason is that it's still in beta, so we do want to be in close contact with everyone who tries to use the API to prevent any mistakes that might lead to loss of funds, and also to get a better picture on the exact use cases API developers are looking for. Also developers who want to leverage the API for their own purposes. So that's great. It's out there. I want to also point out there is a discussion going on GitHub on the future direction and roadmap of the API. So if you're interested in using the API, please join us there. Give us feedback, what you need from the API, what you want to see in the future, so we can start from that point on and build up a roadmap that fits the needs of the developers out there, trying to automate as much as possible with Bisq. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? You probably are aware that Wiz, who is running the Mpool Space project and is also an active contributor, he is actually the team lead of the operators on Bisq. So we are always quite in tight contact what Mpool Space can offer over an API, and we implemented in this last quarter leverage a couple of API features by Mpool Space. So we're using it to estimate fees, which is especially now an important issue or problem right now. So we're getting suggested fees for our transactions. So we're not overpaying, not underpaying, so that if you trade on Bisq, that your trade can proceed as quickly as possible. At the moment, it's a little bit difficult, but yeah. That's something we are leveraging from the Mpool Space API. We are also using it to verify transaction confirmations for maker and taker fee transactions. And we are also publishing transactions through Mpool Space in case you're not connected to a local Bitcoin core node, to also publish transactions more reliable and prevent any issues. So it's great that we can leverage that possibilities, and also are in such close contact. So if we need something, it normally gets implemented quite quickly, which is really great. Yeah, can you move to the next slide?
Yep.
Yeah, in last quarter, we already shipped the SegWit support for our Bitcoin part of the trade protocol. There's still one thing missing, that it's not supporting SegWit, and that are the Bisq Q transactions. We did ship now in this quarter already the first part of the SegWit support for Bisq Q as well. This will be activated, I think, in 3 days from now. At that point, we will then merge the second part into master, where then people will be able to create Bisq Q transactions with SegWit. which should save additional fees, which is also quite important right now, as you guys know. Yeah. And if you can move to the next slide, those were just a couple of features that we implemented over the last couple of months. There were many more smaller improvements in the UI, and also in part of reliability and bug fixes, which we are focusing all the time. So we're shipping, yeah. If you regularly read our release notes, you probably know that we are trying to fix as much as possible. Luckily, there are not too many bugs in the client anymore, but still, yeah, it's really hard to make a bug-free application, as you probably know. So we try to do the best we can. There is one more thing I want to mention for the next release. So regarding reliability, we just switched Java version and to Java 11, and also upgraded our JavaFX stack to the latest JavaFX version, and we're also now shipping our clients with the latest JavaFX, which is the UI library. The latest Java runtime in the binaries. So that should help with different, maybe weird Java errors people saw in the past. It should make the client more reliable, more stable. It should consume less memory. It will not show any security warnings anymore on macOS, because we are fully notarizing and signing the binary there as well. It also not showing the very alerting keylogger permission that the binaries is requesting right now. So yeah, it should help our client a lot for the future. What we are focusing right now is, of course, here the rising mining fees are an issue. We are working on it. Also, Steve already mentioned some in-depth investigation project by the Chimp, which possibilities there are to fix this problem for a long time. And what we are also looking into right now is, and which is quite far already, is an atomic swap between Bitcoin and Bisq Q, which would save mining fees. And there's also a concept to reduce the number of transactions for a trade, which needs 4 transactions right now, which we might get down in the best case scenario to 1 transaction. So yeah, so we do try to find solutions for the mining issue. As always, yeah, please join our discussion on those investigations, so we can find the perfect fit for Bisq for the future too. So we can check this problem off the list for long term as well. Yeah, so that's from development for Q1.
Cool. Thanks, Christoph. I'm going to move on to ops. Wiz, are you on the line?
I'm here, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So, yeah, obviously the mining fees are going nuts right now. The mempool's on fire, right? So currently it's nearly 300 sats per byte for getting into the next block, and we've just changed our price nodes to use the high priority fee. So previously they were using the medium priority, and this will hopefully allow the trades to go through a little bit smoother, since some users have reported they were getting stuck due to the very volatile mining fees market. If you have any stuck trades or any feedback at all about the fees, other than them being very expensive, obviously, feel free to come into the ops channel on Keybase and let us know. we'll probably revert back to the medium priority fee rate whenever the mempool calms down, if it calms down. Other than that, we're still working on the new Bisq Markets website, which should hopefully be ready to launch in the next, let's say 2 weeks. And it's going to feature all of the markets, the trading pairs, the prices, kind of like a crypto watch or coin market cap hybrid site, but just for the Bisq markets. So that'll be really cool when we get that launched. And other than that, we just want to remind everybody to upgrade their Tor Onion hostname to a V3 Onion. And this is very important because the Tor V2 network will be getting deprecated and shut down sometime this year. So if you haven't already upgraded to a Tor V3 Onion, there's a lot of advantages to doing it. It's more reliable, Bisq starts up faster, and some other improvements. So check out the Bisq Wiki article on how to change your Onion address, or watch this YouTube video, which I guess will be linked in the video notes somewhere. But other than that, ops is pretty stable. The seed nodes, price nodes, all the other infrastructure is reasonably stable. So that's it for the ops team.
Awesome, thanks, Wiz. Wiki rhymes with leaky. I have to continuously remind myself of that. But yeah, I guess I should have paused for questions. Christoph went over a lot, and Wiz went over some stuff now. So if you guys, anybody on the call on YouTube, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll go through them. For now, I guess we can move on to growth. This graph covers trading activity in terms of number of trades, average trades per day since Bisq started back in 2016. Generally, the trend is up. You can see lately there haven't been as many trades on the network. As Wiz mentioned, and as you guys can probably see from fees, people don't want to make. I guess people feel a little bit more discouraged to make trades on Bisq right now, so that's probably partly contributing. The markets, most liquid markets are still kind of the more liquid markets, meaning US dollar, euro, the Brazilian real, and the British pound are pretty much the most liquid markets right now. The British pound in particular is doing fairly well, better than usual. As far as volume goes, the story is similar as it's been in the past. Altcoin volume is kind of what's highest, particularly in Monero. Although I will note that the difference is not as big as it's been in the past. Monero volumes, you can see, is kind of erratic as it's always been, usually doing a couple hundred Bitcoin per month. But if you combine the euro volume with the dollar volume and the other strong currencies, fiat currencies, you're looking at about 40 to 50 Bitcoin per month, roughly speaking. And in it, I guess it's still not close to the Monero volume, the volume that Monero is doing, but it's I guess not an exponential difference as it sometimes was in the past. As far as markets and initiatives to improve liquidity, I want to give a big hat tip to Patsa. He's a contributor who's been working very hard on payment methods in a number of markets, some multi-currency, as well as some in working in specific markets like the US dollar, the euro, as well as other areas like India and other promising markets. Very, very important to grow volume. He's also behind this initiative to create an informal market to buy small amounts of Bitcoin. So that's something if you haven't seen, it's a channel on Keybase. There's also a wiki article to to describe it in more detail. But essentially, it's just a channel on Keybase where you can go and buy a very small amount of Bitcoin to get started trading on Bisq. As you know, you need a little bit of Bitcoin to make a deposit and cover fees, and it's often hard for new people who don't have any Bitcoin to do that. So this channel has been live for, I want to say, a couple of months now, and it seems like it's been working fairly well. So if you're in that situation and you need a little bit of Bitcoin, that could be a good way to go. The Buy BSQ channel is an initiative by M with M, another contributor to buy small amounts of BSQ without having to spend a fortune on mining fees, so that you can participate in making a proposal, voting, and of course trading if you want to use BSQ to pay trading fees. But all in all, we could use help here. Anyone who has ideas or is willing to actually do the work to bootstrap new markets or grow existing ones, especially ones that have been in the headlines lately, like the India, Turkey, Nigeria, Venezuela, places that can really use Bisq. Be more than happy to hear from you and help you help us, or I guess help you help the network, as well as market makers. Any other, not necessarily in new markets, but in existing markets. If anybody has ideas to improve liquidity, for example, scouting out merchants who earn Bitcoin, maybe people who use BTC Pay Server and need to sell that Bitcoin. This could be a good way to do that. Of course, the API will smoothen that process a bit. It's kind of manual right now, but any ideas like that, more than welcome to hear them. As far as how you do that, I should probably cover that. I mean, we pretty much happy to hear from you wherever. Keybase is kind of the main communication channel that we use, but posting issues on GitHub, reaching out on Reddit, on the forum as well, bisq.community. Someone's always watching those channels, so feel free to reach out there with your ideas. We're also doing events. The biggest one we have coming up is Bitcoin 2021. This is the one that was supposed to happen last year in California, is now happening in June in Miami. A couple times bigger than originally planned. They're expecting, I believe, upwards of 10,000 people. We're going to have a large booth co-hosted with Mpool, and we're going to try to make the most of it. We're going to have demos. We're going to probably do some feedback on the new UI that's under works. So get some opinions and feedback there. We'll have t-shirts. We're looking to print about 1,000 t-shirts, maybe a little bit more. Bisq t-shirts, Mpool t-shirts. We might have a couple surprises. So if you're going, we're looking forward to meeting you. And if you're interested, we could really use some help on manpower there. It's going to be a good handful of us, but it's going to be a lot of people and a lot of things going on. So if you are listening to this before the event, we'll probably send out a sign-up sheet or some kind of a link for you to sign up on Keybase. If you're interested, just watch Keybase. Probably the Bitcoin 2021 channel is where we'll send that out. And then, that should be amazing. BitBlock Boom, the last two events listed on the bottom are much smaller commitments. We're going to have presences there, but they're going to be nothing like Bitcoin 2021. BitBlock Boom, if you're not familiar, is I guess it's been described as a highly toxic maximalist Bitcoin event in Texas. Bisq is going to be sponsoring. I think we're going to be on the what do they call those? The lanyards that they give out there, courtesy of Pedro. So It's a nice visibility and I think a very good demographic. Magic Future Money is a short story writing contest that an anonymous contributor funded to have Bisq sponsor a prize there. I just spoke to the lead of that contest, and it actually ended at the end of March. Or I should say, submissions were the period for sending submissions ended at the end of March, and right now they're going through picking winners and figuring out how the pricing and stuff will work. So we'll send updates on that out when there are updates. But the idea there was that the contest is taking place in Europe, specifically German-speaking areas, so Germany, parts of Switzerland, and other areas, which is historically a very strong market for Bisq, and so having a good presence there was thought to be beneficial. Other initiatives, we're working on a Dow Dashboard. I know some folks watching this have been wanting this for a while. We had planned, if you look at the link on the bottom, there was a project created several months ago to create a really nice kind of real-time look at the Dow on funds being earned as they came in and then funds being burned as they went out, to get a picture on the BSQ supply, or as some people call it, the profit loss situation of Bisq, and to correlate that with the governance and decisions made throughout time. The real-time project is put on hold, or it's on hold right now, and so in place of it, I'm working on a semi-automated approach to doing that. You can see details on that on the growth issue linked on this slide. This growth issue number 245. The first element of this project is in progress right now. It's going to essentially just be a summary, cycle by cycle, of issuance and voting voting results, cycle by cycle, so you can see what the Dow voted on, what it issued, and compensation proposals, approved and rejected, things like that. The next step, which is, I think, a bit more interesting, is layering the burn data, or in other words, the revenue data on top of that. So that's BTC fees collected and BSQ fees paid, to add the other half. So the first part that I mentioned, the Dow voting results, is going to cover the issuance, so the addition to BSQ supply. And then the second part, which is where we need help, is the earning. So the BSQ burn, which needs to be collected from the Bitcoin blockchain and BSQ explorers. That data and visualizing that data is an area where we could use help. That specifics of that element of the project have not been determined yet. That's something I'm looking to do after finishing this first leg of the project that you see detailed in the 245 issue. So if you're interested, if you have a background in this kind of thing, working with APIs to collect data and visualize on a website, please reach out. On, I guess, this growth issue or in the growth Keybase channel would be great. And the last thing I thought would be great to cover is a 2-year Dow kind of look back. As I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this call, the Dow launched almost exactly, 2 years ago. So 2 years ago on April 15th. And it's been, I think, fair to say that it's run that entire time without any major or unexpected issues. There have been a total of 656 proposals. Most of those have been compensation requests, but a good handful of them have been generic proposals and parameter changes. We'll go through that more in just a moment. But first, supply. So the financial element of the Dow, you can see illustrated here. Now, okay, so the area under the graph, so that gray line is the overall BSQ supply. The yellow bars are BSQ issued usually in the form of compensation requests, although there is some issuance in the form of reimbursement requests, but mostly compensation. And then the green is BSQ burned, which is trading fees, mostly trading fees. On the left is the left axis is supply, and the right axis is issuance, BSQ supply and BSQ issuance. And of course, each bar represents one Dow cycle, so there should be 23 bars on the graph. Yeah, I guess as you can see, I mean, there's a general trend upwards in supply, which is not quite what we want to see. Of course, we want to see the supply go down as revenue goes up, but with trends in compensation and trading, we're not quite seeing that. The average is a loss of about 30,000 BSQ per month. That's been somewhat impacted in the past year by repayments for the security incident back in April. It's not significant in the sense that I think it's about 34,000 in the past year and 33,000 in the year before that. So the repayments for the security incident haven't materially or significantly impacted BSQ burn over the past year. But as those payments come to an end, hopefully soon, I think a majority of the payments are already done. We should see burn go up. So we should see supply go up less quickly, or perhaps flatline. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, with the semi-automated Dow Dashboard that I'm working on, that web page will provide more of a cycle-by-cycle breakdown of this graph of what's going on per cycle. So you'll be able to see that in more detail soon. Another important element of the Dow that I think is important to cover is governance. Of course, that's the other big part of why the Dow exists. So as I mentioned, most of the proposals made on the Dow are for compensation, but a number of them are for other items that are very important as well. So one of the proposals that you can make on the Dow is a generic proposal, and this is generally used for decisions that are somewhat controversial or have an outsized importance. So I just went through some of the proposals made over the past year, and a couple of the ones that stuck out as good examples to mention here are one of them was rejecting Bitcoin Cash as being listed on Bisq. This is a proposal that was made and supported by a couple of excited users, I guess is a good term, people that really wanted to see BCH listed on Bisq. But of course, the vast majority of the stakeholders did not actually want to see it listed on Bisq. I guess what I'm getting at is on GitHub, it seemed at times that the proposal got a good amount of support, but when it was actually put to vote, it turned out to not have as much support as it seemed it was going to get. Listing liquid Bitcoin is another interesting example, and this is because at the time there was a ban, a moratorium on listing any altcoins on Bisq, but there was a proposal made to list liquid Bitcoin for seemingly good reasons, for good reasons to make an exception to that moratorium. And so the proposal was made, got pretty good feedback, and was ultimately voted to approve in the Dow. And the other example I have here is the repayment schedule for the April 2020 security vulnerability. That was you could say, pivotal or just very significant decision for the Dow to make as to how much should be paid. Well, if people should be paid back, if so, how much people should be paid back, how it should be denominated, important things like that really affected the future of the Dow. And so that was another example of a generic proposal voting in action. And then so there are other things like parameter changes. Trading fee updates are done almost every cycle. There was an issuance max that was changed recently to make it possible to issue. I forget the exact number, but to make it possible to issue more compensation than previously allowed, which is a result of the network issues that are at the bottom of this slide that took place in cycle 20 that you can see more about on the cycle report. Bonded rolls have worked as planned, and then reimbursements also were handled through the Dow, particularly larger ones that arbitrators decided that they didn't want to handle. So that's just an overview of governance over the past 2 years. I think in general it's been working as planned, and again we'll be able to illustrate all of this in more granular, comprehensive detail with this new page coming up on the website. But that's what we have for now, and that's all I have for now, I think. So I guess with that, if anybody has any questions, please put them in the YouTube chat. And we'll move on to support. Leo.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? Okay, so I'm just gonna go over first some issues that we tackled in this first quarter, and the first of which was the lack of communication. So we and the support team saw that due to Bisq structure, and there was a lot of people coming and going, doing a job and then leaving. So, and we felt there was a lack of communication. So we decided to do weekly calls, just to have a better sense of everything that's going on in the dev team. And so they get constant feedback from us so we can fix issues. And me, together with Hue, Padza, and with them and James, they have been really helpful, especially James noting down every request that we made to make the app better for users and for us as mediators and support agents. That's been going really well. We've done them every single week for I think 6 weeks now, and I think they've been very productive. So we've also had a messaging problem. Just some messages weren't going through, and that's still something that we're working on, and that has improved, but it's still not there yet. We've also worked on a table of penalties, just so that we feel that every single situation has a consequent penalty or reimbursement appropriate to the party that's that's been penalized in the trade for whatever reason, and we feel that should be standardized as much as possible, and that's what we've been trying to do. We're still working on having more issues and having everything better structured, but this is a first attempt. Obviously a biggest issue, and we're going to go into the graphs next slide, but has been users been stuck in stage 2, and thanks to providing logs, both me and Hue, I think James has found the reason for this, so we think we might have solved it for the coming cycles. Compensation has also been an issue with some support agents that we've had. Castor decided to leave because he felt that he wasn't compensated enough. Since then, we've tried to go over, how could this maybe improve, or maybe have a clearer message as to why he felt that he was putting more work in that he was compensated by. Well, I think we're still working on this, but maybe a progressive increase that rewards people sticking by the longer, that could work. And also, so something that we're going to focus on, and that we've been focusing on for the last quarter, was the lack of information in the Bisq wiki. We've been transferring all the information we have, but we still have a long way to go. Can you go through the next slide?
Yep.
Okay. So on the top right, I noted the quarter four mediation cases graph, and there was a clear increase with the trade spike. But now everything seems pretty settled. Not all the information, but it's an approximate, because some of the information is missing. But with trade volume, cases have gone down, and they can be handled properly. Yeah, that's it for this quarter. Can you go to the next one? Okay, and so we're currently evaluating. I'm interviewing or having conversations with 3 people who are interested in becoming a support agent. We're open to new candidates, but the truth is, right now we're having a low volume of trades, and the current intern that we have right now says he's answering 1 or 2 questions a day on Keybase. So just the workload isn't there right now, but I'm sure when the volume goes up, we'll need more people. So yeah, here I just noted some what do you need to be a good candidate, and how to use Bisq well, and everything about the trading process, and be willing to at least 10 hours a week for the internship period. And you can go on the details on the link, and after 1 cycle you will be evaluated. I think overall we're making good steps, and I think the user experience is getting better, and yeah, I'm happy with how we're working with the team. That's it for me.
All right, thanks, Leo. That about covers everything we had planned. If you're watching and you want to get in touch with any developers or contributors or even other users on Bisq, feel free to reach out on Keybase. That's where everybody tends to hang out. There are other channels on IRC and Matrix and the forum and Reddit and Telegram and a whole bunch of other places, but Keybase is really where everybody tends to hang out. And yeah, documentation is on the wiki. As Leo mentioned, we're working on growing growing the body of knowledge there to help you troubleshoot, solve your issues, learn more about Bisq and everything that goes into it. So I guess that's it for us. If anybody has any questions, we can hang around for a couple minutes to take them. Feel free to put them in the YouTube chat. And yeah, at the same time, if anybody else on the call has any last words or thoughts, feel free to.
Just as it came up regarding the compensation of the victims of the security incident, I just checked the numbers. We have paid back 84% now of the stolen US dollar value. So that's roughly, I think, around $200,000. So that should be, if the trading volume progresses like it does right now, we probably are done paying back in 1 or 2 months.
Nice. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. It's very good. All right. I guess we'll call it a wrap here. If anybody has any questions, like I mentioned, Keybase is the place to go, or any of the other channels. Feel free to reach anyone in those channels with your questions or comments. And all right, last minute question. What's the current processing for asking for altcoins? There isn't really much of a process right now. If you really feel strongly that an exception should be made, the best thing to do is to discuss it with a developer or a contributor on Keybase, just to get a handle of whether they agree that your exception is worth making. But otherwise, there's a pretty hard moratorium on altcoins. Okay, with that, we'll call it an end. Thank you guys for joining, and thanks everybody for taking the time.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for organizing,
Yep,
Steve.
of course. Bye bye.